Yeah, I guess it's been interesting doing these Omni Conversations,
Why is that?
actually. Um, in my past life, I feel like lived many lives, but my past life, when I worked with Softfleet and I ran their human performance podcast, it was always like an intro, like, hey, welcome to, X, Y, and Z. I'm your host. This is this and that. And this has been different since we started because it's been more so a very much like we have no topics most of the time. It kind of just becomes a free flow conversation. And when we started these Omni Conversations, it actually was the Omni University office hours to where we would have members come in if they wanted to and join us, and we would just run a Q&A or talk about something. But we found, I guess, or I found that like the time that we're doing it, it's really hard for individuals at 9 a.m. in the morning on a Tuesday. Most
Mhm.
people work. Most people are in meetings, East Coast, West Coast,
Yep.
across the country, over the pond. It's nighttime. People are sleeping. So what we ended up turning this into was an hour to 45 minutes to a 30-minute time block that you and I got to kind of jump on and kind of conversate about things that ultimately gave birth to our podcast that we've been talking about, and I've been talking about for some time now, getting back up. And when I was with Softfleet, I mean, I probably recorded over 100 different podcasts. I mean, I started their podcast in 2017.
Yeah.
Um, and ran it all the way through until I pretty much walked away. And their podcast is still going to this day. Um, and I've had conversations with individuals that are like big time. So like the Foot Collective, you see it all over the Instagram now, right? Like the big dude. I did a podcast with him in 2017 when he was not even known yet. Nick St. Louis out of that area. Foot Collective wasn't a thing, but I was the head of the sphere or the apex of like knowing the feet or the foundation.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like going to
having
that
conversations.
concert before went in the little venue before the
Yeah,
band gig, right?
100%. Yeah,
Yep.
when there's that. The move you guys, right? Like Dr. Mike. I've
Mhm.
actually remember going back to that example you used. I remember Mr. Dr. Mike inside a small little tiny Encinitas building that the room was the size of my office room right here. Like it was super small, and you just come in, he'd work on you. And I remember watching him grow all the way to this big building, into this big office with coaches and PTs and other chiropractors, to him going online and doing it and seeing what he is into now. So you got
Mhm.
guys like that. I mean, the list can go on from the tactical professional space, right? We can go talk about the dietitians I've spoken with, the doctors I've spoken with, right? Like I've done a podcast with Dr. Andy Galpin. Like those are the cool things I've done all that time, and it's interesting now to kind of be back in the infancy aspect of it. And I heard this the other day as he's a hitting coach, but he's a hitting coach for softball girls, and his
Mhm.
daughter's like ranked in the nation for hitting, and she's a really good pitcher as well. And his name is Mike Z, and he's gone through 8U, 10U, 12U, 14U, 8U, 10U, 12U, 14U, and he's back on his third rotation of going through 8U now, back at 10U.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy, right? And when you hear individuals who have gone through like a rotation or a phase of a career phase multiple times, most people just kind of stop at the pinnacle or stop at that highest point. You never see individuals go all the way back to the start again and go through it again. And that's kind of what's led me to this point now, right? Is like, you know, when I worked for Softly as the head of human performance, we were the small little tiny, small business that started off like this. It was like one or two people. We would record podcasts, we would write programs. It was a group program. It was different than one-on-one time period. There wasn't very many people doing the group style program membership stuff. It was a very small group, especially for the tactical professional space. And then, over the years from 2000, I was with them at 2015 all the way through till
Mhm.
2023. And then, all of a sudden now I walk away from this teenage business. Now, if you want to look at it, right, like they're a teenage business, they were coming up on, even maybe 10 years, whatever else, but you walk away from it and you go and start a whole new baby again.
Mhm.
Take what you've learned from those things and realize that, It takes time. There's patience behind it. Now, like, I'm in a different position than I was before then. And coming back now to the Omni Conversations that I'm talking about, why it's interesting is because before I used to be like, all right, we're going to talk about this thing, we're going to do this thing, and this is how it's going to flow. And again, when I did that back in the day, podcast wasn't very popular just yet. I mean, now everybody does a podcast. Everybody has a company or some kind of brand has a podcast where you can go listen to them and talk about everything and anything that's in their own mind, which I think is great, right? You go and look at it, books exist because of that same reason.
Yep.
Writers exist because of that same reason. And it's kind of the similar thing here when I look at it, right? Like, it's like, what makes Omni Conversations so different? What is a differential for us compared to other companies? And what's the differential from us to the other endurance companies, the CrossFit training companies, the HYROX companies, the rucking companies? What is our differential? And I guess that's the question that I haven't been able to answer. And if you've been listening to these podcasts lately, there's always a question that I'm always trying to answer.
Yeah.
We already said, hey, we are a hybrid training company, one-on-one remote training company, right? Like, you want to go do CrossFit? Cool. You want to go do HYROX? Cool. You want to go run ultramarathon races? You want to go do triathlons? You want to just be fit? You want to look good naked? You want to be pain-free? You want to do all those things? Like, we can help you do that. And if you want to do all of those together, we can help you do that as well. And the differential right now for that is there's not very many companies that can do all of those things in a one-stop shop. Even though it's just you and I as a coach, right? From the standpoint of like how the company runs. But my question though is going back to it full circle, like, what's the differential of our Omni Conversations compared to all the other podcasts out there, or platforms that people can come and listen to them talk?
That's a good question. It's funny that that's the topic that you just like landed on, because I was going through my notes the last day or two, just cleaning them up, because you see something, you jot it down, and I just pulled it back up because I wanted to make sure I read it right. And I have no idea where I saw this or read it, but it's not the skill, it's the signature. And how there are so like everybody has not everybody, there are a lot of companies that are very similar, I would say, right? Like, they can do the same types of things, but it is everything else, like it's the backgrounds and everything. It's the uniqueness, like what makes it unique. And for specifically for Omni Conversations too, like, why is it any different? It's I don't know that I have a good answer, but it is that, right? It's like, what are if we give the exact same information that everybody else is giving, why would somebody want to listen to this instead? And I think that's a good question.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this from like my storytelling background. And what's interesting is, like, I was actually talking to Mike McGardry over, I think I said his name, I messed up his last name probably, but he coaches over at Training Think Tank. We were at the CrossFit Games together.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just got done having a conversation with my buddy Ryan, who coaches at Conquer Athlete. And we were talking about this idea of like, why are coaches in the fitness space so afraid to go into the same room with each other and share their ideas and progressions and the way they actually get athletes to be successful? Bring it back to the storytelling perspective. Creative writers, authors, will go sit in writing rooms.
Yeah.
Script writers will go sit in writing rooms and they'll pitch their next big idea to a group of other writers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go ahead and have these other writers either pick it apart, throw new ideas into it, and they don't care about that aspect of them sharing the story, because no one can write the story the way that they're going to write it.
Yeah.
No one sees, and I heard a few years back, I go through waves of like really diving into like my writing. And when I'm deep in my writing blocks like that, I go into a lot of reading on books about writing. And I don't know the author's name, but she said something that really stood out to me. And the book's called the Fourth Draft.
Okay.
And the reason the fourth draft is that, like, The first draft that you write is for you. The second draft that you write is to start removing the fluff. The third draft now is where you start to see the story come alive. And that fourth draft and on now really is starting to actually polish things up. And if you're a writer or a fan of writing, Ernest Hemingway talks about killing your darlings. And it's an editing process, meaning that you might love it, but it's not meant to be in there. So you have to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to storytelling, and then I know I kind of drifted off there, but going back to storytelling, this idea of the fourth draft is, in that part of that book, is you and I walk into that same room together. We each are going to notice something different. So, for example, when you walk into my house,
Mm-hmm.
you might notice something that I never see.
Yeah.
And when I walk into my house, I notice something that you don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing about storytelling. So when I look at the Omni Conversations, the differentials from, you might have a coach like myself and you talking about heat training, talking
Mm-hmm.
about lifestyle recovery management, stress management. What makes it different is our experiences and our backgrounds, and the way we see the world is what allows for us to actually communicate it in a different manner than someone else who is a part of other training companies, Invoke
Mm-hmm.
Endurance, yes, um, Training Think Tank, Mayhem. I'm throwing these names out, these HYROX
Yeah.
companies.
Yep.
It's the same idea when you walk into a Pizza Hut and a Domino's,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, they're selling pizzas. They
Yep.
each have a pepperoni pizza. But what's the differential between those two pepperoni pizzas?
Well, it's like why grandma's cookies taste better than any other cookies, right? Like it's there's it's that love, the love that goes into it, right? It's the experiences, the background, it's everything else. It's your experience with that too. So it's not just like, hey, I'm eating this chocolate chip cookie, but there's, oh, I would sit on the kitchen floor while my grandma was making cookies and she'd have me stir the thing with her and then we'd bake them and eat them warm off of the thing. Like there's more to, like, there's the essence of everything that goes into it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. So I for me with that, when we go and look at grandma's cookies, right? Like the ingredients are the same ingredients that
yeah, my
someone
grandma
else
used a Toll House recipe on the back of the chocolate chip thing. It was no
correct,
different than anybody else making them.
correct. And but let's go even deeper than that. What was your relationship with your grandma though? She's your grandma,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
right? There's a deeper human connection relationship with the individual. It's the same
Mhm,
exact thing here when I have athletes being like, I'm really happy you're now doing these Omni Conversations because I can listen to them now.
mhm.
They're actually bought in because of the human connection, the human relationship that they have developed with us on a one-on-one basis.
Yep.
So again, some of the differentials we're going on to here, right, is one, this isn't the first time I've walked through this path of restarting a podcast or restarting some type of storytelling conversation platform where we can come on and share stories about many different things. We can talk about many different things. There's so many different topics we can dive the round rabbit hole of. But also, too, is the relationships that we've created over the past X amount of years to this point within Omni, because Omni has been around now a year and a half. I know it seems long, it feels a lot longer to me than that.
Yeah.
Um, because there was a white space when I did resign from Softly in 2023 when I was like, all right, I'm done. There was a year where it was kind of like in limbo. I was trying to take something I had started before them that I was still kind of doing when I was behind the scenes with them and try
Mhm.
to bring it back out. It just didn't hit as hard. It just didn't feel correct. It didn't feel genuine or authentic anymore. So yeah, there
Yep.
was that white space that like I had to sit back and recognize and figure things out to where we're now here. So realistically, I have been doing this now, you know, for some time now. I mean, it was about 2 years because we really didn't launch Omni Athlete Training until 2024 December.
Yep.
right? I think it was when we got back from that Bigfoot 200 race where it was like,
Yeah.
let's go with this name. Let's go ahead and start pushing it this way. And that's when I was like, all right, cool. Let's bring you on, Sam, in February. Let's start moving the needle forward that way. So, yeah, realistically, it's only been a year and like a year and a half.
Yeah.
It's very much young, and I know I've talked about this on the podcast plenty of times of how young this is, but it goes back to this aspect of the two differentials so far that we've had.
Yeah.
One, we've had experience of doing something like this, right? I've restarted before. I'm restarting now, helping regroom a whole new company. There's a lot of experiences that I've gained in between that white space to this point.
Yeah.
I mean, right, compared to and if you ever go back and listen to those podcasts that I did in 2017 and 18, I talk really fast. My ideas and thoughts are like all over
Mhm.
the all over the place, like ping pong. The way I enunciate and communicate and the way I ask questions is not there at all. I probably sounded a little bit more angrier than I am now. And you'll see the progression through that on how I became a little bit more spiritual and how I became a little bit more introspective on communicating and how to look at things. And you kind of see that to this point now to where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of repetitions there. And now it's doing it for my company, doing
Mhm.
it for the athletes that we're trying to build the culture for. And right, like as a one-on-one training company, as much as we try and retain our retention for individuals, we understand that retention is not a guaranteed thing.
Yep.
Like we know that 100%. But what we can do the best of is when we are working with those individuals is taking care of them to the best of our ability, right? Not looking at it from how much money can I make off this person or how do I get more money through doing this thing. It's like, how about we take care of the individuals we have now and make them feel super special because that's what matters in that moment, in that present aspect. Those are the
Mhm.
lessons, right? You know, so again, the differentials is like what makes it different. And I know companies will be like, well, we do the same exact thing. You're right, 100%. But just as like all storytellers can write different ways and you can have the same story, and I can give you the same theme and you would write two completely different stories.
Mhm.
If you make one right or not, it's just that's just going to be again grandma's cookies. It's one person is going to be connected to it deeper than the other person is going to be connected to it. For example, me eating your grandma's cookies, it might not be as hit me as hard as it hits you,
Yeah.
but it hits me a little bit because I know you and how impactful that is for you.
Mhm.
But if it's someone else's grandma who I don't know and I don't know who they are, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I brought these cookies to a party and I eat them," I'm like, "Okay, cool. It's just another chocolate chip cookie."
Yep. Exactly.
Right. So again, it goes back to that human relationship and that human connection that really draws people in to being bought in.
Well, yeah, and I think storytelling is just it's so important with anything, right? And coming from a data background, that was actually a bigger part of my job was learning how to tell the story because at the end of the day, nobody cares what the numbers are. They just want to know what it means for them. And so, like, even coming from like a numbers side, it was like, hey, you could save $2 million by doing this. Great, that's a good number to hear. But if you could create like that story around it, that's where it started to stick. Because the thing with data is what's so interesting about it is if you test a bunch of things, no answer is actually like a result, right? Like if we say, hey, we think this is going to happen if we do this, like if we make like the go-to is if we said red envelopes or blue envelopes, like which one will get opened more, right? Or clicks or whatever. And there's no difference between the two, like that's a result. And so what we had to do was create these like stories around this because otherwise it was just like, well, that was a waste of time, right? And so it was more about how do we get somebody to buy into something. It's not just going to be throwing information at them. It's creating exactly what you said. It's that connection. It's that feeling of, oh, I want to understand or be a part of this.
Or I want to become Sam's friend because I want to eat her grandma's cookies.
Yes.
Because all I've heard from Sam is a rant about how great grandma's cookies are and the connection she has while making these cookies with her.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
is a really,
Go ahead.
yeah. No, I was gonna say is like from a personal standpoint, if I was to go ahead and pull myself out of my owner's position and I look at the way the company's running, I think we do a horrible job at storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. It's like, why? What? Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it's though because it's figuring out to back to what I was saying before. It's like figuring out what the signature is, right? It's taking what makes us unique and like the backgrounds that we bring because they're very different. And how does that like speak to Omni? And this is gonna go off on a drift here, but something like that's been on my mind recently. So these AI posters,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen them on Instagram, like especially in fitness right now. They're like these posters or these posts, and it is literally the same fonts, information, obnoxious images over and over and over and over again. And when I see those, I am not reading them. I don't care what the information that's on them because it's just like this. I don't know. It's just like I don't know how to say it. My brain is just like, nope, I'm not going to read that. And so when we think of like a brand or a voice or like what is Omni, I think that is still like the story of it is still evolving and trying to like figure out what it is. And it's not that, right? And a lot of these companies are just falling into it because it's super easy to put information out that looks good, but it does not connect with anybody. Like if you're not stopping, like, I mean, you can look at logos and stuff, and logos are not a brand, right? Logos are a piece of the brand, but it is like what makes you connect to like what makes you take that feeling, right? Like when you smell Annie Ann's pretzels in the airport, like you know it's Annie Ann's pretzels. Like it's that's their signature when you walk by. Um, so what is it that people see? Not necessarily the logo, but like what feelings are evoked when something Omni pops up?
Yeah. It's a really good point. Last night when we were warming up, or yesterday afternoon when we were warming up um, the girls were like, "You smell that? It smells so good." And then Ernie was like, "What? That does?" I didn't notice the smell. And guess what the smell was?
What?
Chick-fil-A.
Oh,
And I just didn't recognize the smell because I don't eat Chick-fil-A
I
like
wouldn't
that.
either. I think I've had it 3 times
No.
in my life.
And but the thing is though is the every single one of the girls that smelt it and everybody was like, "Oh my God, that smells so good." And they knew right away it's Chick-fil-A.
Uh-huh.
Like the feeling and the mind was just like snap,
Yeah.
boom. So I can relate to what you're talking about with the Annie's pretzels
Yeah.
because I don't recognize the Annie's pretzels. I recognize Panda Express. I recognize,
Sure.
you know,
It's
we
something
can
that
always,
but it's not just like because it's funny because I like food is a big one, right? It's an easy one because food often isn't just like, hey, it tastes good, but it's when we were kids we would go walking in the mall, for whatever reason, like we would do Christmas shopping, and there's always an Annie Ann's pretzel, and at the end of it all, we would get pretzels, right? And
yeah,
so like that smell is very connected to an experience. And so it's the same thing. Like if I see something on Instagram that is just the same, like the same visually content over and over and over again, I'm gonna not look at it. I detach from it. It's not important to me. But if I see something or there's a message that I feel connected to, like it's more about again that relationship experience that comes through, and like that's what's missing, right?
yeah, yeah. No, it's a really good point. I'm seeing in the softball community right now too. Is I'm like you see like all of these select and travel ball teams right now trying to recruit for kids to come over, and all of their Instagram posters are all the same.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
Here's your logo. You put the team logo in there, and then all of a sudden, just like in all the same wording, right?
Like, let's just start using word art again. You'd probably be more successful. Like the Mr. Clippy.
Yeah, like for example, like let's go ahead and use this word, developmental. Everyone can use the word developmental, but what is the action of developmental?
Mm,
Wouldn't the action be the development of the children compete growing, or the athletes that we work with compete and growing and showing developments, like
hmm.
developing in their game to understand how to play the game?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be developmental, or would it, or is it, or can it be combination of how developmental practices are, right?
Hmm.
Something I learned really early on in my coaching career is you have three different ways of developing athletes.
Okay.
You have your developmental sessions, your sustainable sessions, and your regenerative sessions.
Okay.
So your regenerative sessions, you already know exactly what those are, right? Regenerative is recovery, mobility, those types of things, sleep, recovery, managing stress. That's what that session is doing. It's helped to regenerate the system from whatever you just got out of a high performing training session or high performing game or whatever else. Sustainable sessions is the way I look at it, is this idea of, okay, we're just going to go ahead and sharpen the sword, meaning that we're going to go through and we're going to touch all the skills. That is a warm up. That's an hour prior to a game. We're just sustaining right now. We're just getting everybody to get their hits in, get everything kind of rock and rolling. We're just getting all of that in.
Just greasing the
And
wheels.
you 100% just keeping everything moving, right? Like the past 7 days for me coaching softball has been sustaining, right? We had 3 games: Thursday, Saturday, and Monday. It was
Yep.
all sustained. Some might say, well, that's developmental because the girls are able to develop. It's like, yes, but I'm not able to go ahead and develop the girls in their mistakes and errors they're making during that time and moment. And this is where the developmental side of the house comes into, where it's like, yeah, on practice on Wednesday, I'm taking everything I saw over those 3 games, and now we're developing new skill sets that I
Mhm.
saw based off some of the errors and issues off of that.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and do the same thing with a CrossFit Games athlete. I'll utilize Reese, who is my 14-year-old who took third in the world in her age group. As much as I wanted to develop her going into the games for those last 8 weeks, it was more of a balance of regeneration and sustaining, and then hitting her with some development stuff. But now, going out of the games after we had 3 days of high intense competition, seeing, okay, we need to get better at high volume. Not that we have to get better at high volume toes to bar, high volume wall balls. We need to get better at high volume contraction on the hip flexors into other movements. Because, for example, one of her workouts was 50 wall balls, 30 toes to bar, 10 D ball over shoulder.
Hmm.
She has the capacity to go 50 unbroken. But
Yeah.
what she was lacking capacity in was to be able to handle going 18 to 20 toes of bar unbroken and then knocking out the last 10 unbroken.
Yeah. And to like take it out of the CrossFit world and maybe a little bit more, what's like with HYROX is a good example is you might not need to be better at, hey, I need to get better at running. That's very generalized, but it's, I need to get better at running off of a sled push, like under fatigue. I need to get better at maintaining pace off of each station. Um, just trying to
Yeah,
like expand it outside of just yeah,
100%. So yeah, well, I'm just going. I went from softball, we went to
yeah.
CrossFit and HYROX. And
Um,
again, right, when I look at a sled push into a run, I don't just look at like muscle endurance. I look at, okay, cool. What does hip flexor strength and contraction volume
yeah,
look like? Efficiency look like? Endurance look like? What does your cardiovascular fitness look like? Do you have the lung capacity to be able to handle pushing that going into a run? What does the legs feel like? There's a lot of pieces into that, right? Same thing with, all right, how do I handle big sets of wall balls after I've just ran 6 miles
right.
with everything inside of that to be able to go ahead and handle high volume wall balls? We'll go into ultra running or just trail running in general. There's multiple different focuses in trail running. And I actually heard a podcast the other day, and they're talking about the CrossFit Games trail run.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you noticed it or if you watched or saw, a lot of athletes in that trail run end up rolling their ankles.
Yeah,
Why?
because they aren't doing like foot ankle stability. Uh,
Money,
yeah, they
100%.
don't
Literally,
have like that's not in their training regimen because it doesn't have to be. Everything they do is on a hard floor.
correct.
Yeah.
So ankle injuries came from a lack of stability.
Hmm.
So we go and look at the endurance world in general, and we talk about trail running. Yes, do we have uphill running, downhill running? Do we have accumulation of fatigue from uphill and downhill running 100%? Do we have stability where you have to be able to maintain moving your foot over uneven terrain over a time? Do we have neurological fatigue where your reaction time to
Yeah.
moving your feet off the ground needs to be a thing? 100%. So now it's one of those things, for example, we'll take someone who does a long distance ruck. Let's go
Hmm.
and say a go ruck at 50 miles. That's through the concrete jungle. The concrete jungle is just to a city.
Yep.
You're not having to worry about the instability aspect of climbing over uneven terrain.
Correct.
But you take an individual who goes from go ruck and wants to be like, well, I completed a go ruck event for 50 miles, and we move into a GBF event, which is Green Beret Fitness, where
Hmm.
most of it is on uneven terrain,
Correct. Yeah.
right? To where you now have to worry about a 30-pound pack on your back, having to go down a mountain with uneven terrain while under fatigue and potentially sleep deprived because you've been moving for 10 to 12 hours and everything else like that, maybe even longer. We'll take our athletes who completed the 100-mile ruck over at GBF. What made them successful was understanding this development process, that it's not just multiple, it's just not one big piece of the idea here.
Right.
It's looking at it in very small increment pieces and then molding it together as one,
For sure.
right?
Yeah,
And that's kind of where I'm
it's
looking at it.
things like the transitions. It's what happens when I go from this to this. Like it's those little things in between. Right? Like if
Correct.
you look at like I think CrossFit's a really good example. And CrossFit not just like, hey, CrossFit Games, but if you go to a CrossFit gym and you have a leaderboard there, a lot of times, at least in my opinion, the difference between, the top and the middle, other than possibly like pure strength and such, is their transitions between movements, right? If you're doing a WOD or a Metcon and you're half getting off a rower into box jumps or vice versa or whatever the movements are, they're seconds, but those build up over time. Right? It's like in a triathlon. Those transitions from the swim to the run or the to the bike to the run, like they're so minimal, but those are what makes such big differences in the people that are competing at the top levels or even like top middle pack versus everybody else.
Yeah.
It's getting out of the chair at a it's getting out of the chair at an ultra, right? Like I'm not spending 10 minutes in the aid station, I'm spending 6 and I know exactly what I need. Like it's these like micro things that some are physical, but some are also mental or strategy or whatever else it might be.
It's a big point, right? Like that is really the big piece there, right? It's like it's not just the physical, but it's the mental piece from a differential as
Mhm.
well. We'll go ahead and go back to the softball. When you
Yep.
have a background in it, you understand the development process of it, and we'll use the girls that we're coaching right now. We picked these girls up in the beginning of July, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and they all came as individuals, and now halfway through the season with only 3 games left, they're competing as a team now.
Mhm.
But let's go ahead and look at how we've developed that process. We've had to find every single girl's strength, every single girl's limitation, and then
Yep.
we've had to rise all of those limitations in each of them together while still maintaining their strengths together. To where
Mhm.
now, yeah, do we have some girls that are still kind of learning some of the things? That's part of the game, but they weren't where they at when they first started,
Yeah.
right? To where now, as a team, we're no longer here at this bottom level. We're now moving up together where, the good players that came to us playing already are now able to still stay there. And some of their limitations have gone up, but the girls that were not at their level are still now kind of climbing up a little behind them,
Yeah.
right? Like we saw that yesterday at our game where the girls that we weren't expecting to step up stepped up.
Mhm.
And that's based off of developmental,
Yeah.
developmenting, or developmental processes and developmental progressions and developmental practices of
Mhm.
doing that, right? The measurement of that is not through numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the success and the measurement of that is through what was the story leading up to that moment. What were the actions the individual took to get to that moment?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's the piece here when we talk about development progressions and developing human beings to be successful in these endeavors that we're looking at. Yes, we'll go back to they're 8-year-old girls. Are they
Yeah.
going to make mistakes? 100%.
Yeah.
But what you can teach them from a developmental standpoint is the mental aspect, being like, you made a mistake, own it. How are you going to respond next one? Let
Yep.
that go. Don't be cut to it. Don't worry about it. Let's focus on the next play.
Yeah. And I know like you had helped manage that with Reese at CrossFit Games, right? And how do you learn and forget and move on from that into the next thing because you can't let it stick with you. I mean, it happens. Ultras are a great example, or any racing, right? Like, especially when you're going for 10, 12, 24, whatever hours, there's going to be a lot that goes wrong in that time. And it's how do I adapt? How do I adjust? How do I move on and not get stuck in this other space, you know?
Yeah. This is a great point. I'm going to continue using softball because it's just kind of the conversation I'm having. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a great coach can go ahead and take what he's utilizing with adults and implement it into youth and see it actually transition with youth and see it transfer into the youth ability to do the things in a confident standpoint. Um, for example, right? Like Jade, one of our pitchers, her first game pitching for us was all over the place,
Yeah.
right? It was all over the place. And the question that was asked of her is, what are you afraid of?
Mm,
Guess what her answer was? Afraid of hitting another batter.
yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm
Yeah.
afraid to hit the batter. So guess what she started doing in her pitching practice? They started putting a person there and she had to pitch to that person and learn how to get through it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And now you see her yesterday at her game yesterday, she had 3 strikes or
Yeah.
3 strikeouts.
And she hit a batter and then kept going too.
Well, and that was the thing, right? And my response to her was like, "Hey, Jade, you hit a batter. You got your fear out of the way. Let's go put it down the middle now. That's not what
Yep.
happened. You're good."
Yeah.
There's that one. We'll use Peyton as our other. She's a really good pitcher, but once you put a batter in that position, what happens to her? She
Yep.
freezes up. So talking to her parents last night, she's like, what do you guys? What do you think it is, George?" And I was like, "I believe it's this. I believe that she's mentally afraid of something. I don't know what it is, but it's an
Mm-hmm.
environmental thing, meaning that she pitches great at home. She pitches great here at warmups. She does amazing at her evals." I was like, "Well, what's the one thing that stands out right now between all of that? There's no batter in the batter's box.
Yep.
There's no catcher at a lower level than dad or
Yeah.
mom or whoever else who's sitting on a bucket.
Yep. 100%.
So how do we develop the mental side of the house and the physical? We have to change the environment, putting a batter in that batter's box so the pitchers get used to putting balls down the middle
Mm-hmm.
and understanding where that strike zone's at and understanding that they're not to throw the ball at the catcher's mitt. The catcher will catch that ball where it goes in that strike zone.
Yeah.
That's their job.
Yep.
You have that. Like the list can go on about understanding how to break all these pieces apart and go to. We can talk about batting. We can use Carmen, for example. She's starting to understand how to see the ball better. She's starting to go ahead and understand how to see her hand-eye coordination is getting better. You're seeing it with fielding. You're seeing it with hitting. You're seeing it with all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Going into back to ultra marathon running, going back to CrossFit, going back to HYROX, going back to just overall lifestyle stuff. It's an attention to detail to the small aspects and then piecing in all those small aspects together that ultimately leads to improving an individual's ability to perform in X environment.
Yeah.
That's the differential.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think we've talked about this before. I know we have in another one where it's John Wooden in basketball, right? He would set up every situation possible with his players in practice so that there wasn't one that they didn't see or recognize. And very similar to pitching without a batter, that is exactly what doesn't happen in a game, right? Like you have to be and set up this scenario so it works. So like if you've, I don't know, if you've never run in the rain, like it's going to be a different thing. So if it's raining out and you had a training day plan, don't skip it, right? Like, or heat right now is a big conversation. Like, how do you make yourself prepared for this? Is by going and doing it and practicing. And maybe you practice it on a smaller level, but you need to practice these things. Like, you need to understand what happens to your body when it's 100 degrees out and humid versus, fair San Diego 70 weather.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's putting you in the environments that you want to strive in. If you want to if you want to pitch really well in a game, you got to put yourself in game-like environments. Same thing I used to do with my weightlifters. You're not allowed to lift on the same platform every day. You have to rotate platforms because when you go compete in an event, you're not at your platform. You have to find new places to look at. You're going to have people walk in front of you. You're going to have lights on you.
Yep.
That's it. In the ultramarathon racing, if you're not prepared for the elements of rain, we'll use Mikey, for example. He's experienced rain before. He's been training in rain in Texas. What are you guys expecting potentially in Germany at last Seoul Ultra? Potentially rain. The cool thing is, though, he's not going to be stuck on 2 inches of mud. He's going to be on hard concrete and some small trail. So he'll be able to work through it a little bit more. But he understands how to handle the rain better. So again, the differential is putting yourself in those environments and microdosing yourself through it so that you can be ready for whatever comes your way.
Yeah, it's setting yourself up for success. Like, you need to, what is it? Like, it's I don't know. I can't think of what the words are, but it's just like making sure you see everything so you're not surprised the day of.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. 100%. No, I think that's a great point. So I guess bringing it back to the first question of the conversation, like what makes Omni Conversations a differential from other podcasts?
I think
what are your few? What are your few three? What are your three?
I don't, it's hard to like pinpoint what they are, but I do think it has to do just with, it's different. It's the different experiences, right? Like like the way both you and I think about things is very different. In anybody. And so it's connecting it back to making, like, I'm sure somebody will relate to something in here. I'm sure someone else's grandma makes the best cookies too. It's finding those connections, and it might not be for everybody, and that's okay. But for someone that is listening and says, "Oh, that's really interesting," or that resonates with me, that's, I think that's what's important.
Yeah, 100%. No, I think that's it. I think the one for me is obviously experience, right? Like we have different experiences. We see the world differently. We are just learning how to storytell what our differential is as an Omni athlete training system is. And the next big piece for me, I think, is human connection, human relationships that we're understanding that we have to build as a whole. And then understanding to recognize the micro details lead to the macro details, and the micro progressions lead to macro progressions, which ultimately is truly development. Is that you have to look at the micro aspects and fix the micro before you can go ahead and think that the macro is going to actually change and be better.
Yeah, and I think that's a very different approach than most things, because is it like if you're 80 or 90% of the way there, you're good. But I feel like I go back to data again. So it's like when you're building like a model or something, like a predictive model, and you say, hey, you know what, this captures like 90% of everything, that's good enough. Like there's no value, not no value, but it takes a lot of effort to like get that extra 1 or 2%. Whereas what we're looking at is, let's look at that 1 or 2% from the start. And if you start it, rather than getting to 90% and then add 1 or 2, it's like, how do we find these little things first so that that 90% is actually 95% off the bat?
100%. It's actually, and it's a good point you bring it up. Atlas hit his 80% in his tumbling
Mm-hmm.
gymnastics class, and they wanted to move him right away to the next level.
Mm.
Same thing with Bella. Bella hit her 80% in her gymnastics class, and they're like, let's move her up to the next level. The only reason why they wanted to move her up to the next level from a business standpoint is it charges more money for those classes. But from a parent standpoint and me understanding developmental processes, I was like, I don't want them moving up until they're hitting 95, 100%.
Yep. And oh man, I like, because I taught karate for years, and
Yeah.
we would move kids pretty quickly through their belts at times, like their stripes to get the next belt. But you could tell the difference between the kids that were testing for their belt that like knew it, and then the kids that tested for their belt and they were like skating through, right? Like they were like kind of getting it, like the forms or the patterns. And so it's like you just said, like, it's like, okay, yeah, you could get by with, I mean, what is it? 65% is passing in school. Like you can get by with that, but why wouldn't you spend the time improving this middle ground so that you really know that, and you just like, then you don't forget it either.
And you know what's crazy is that extra middle ground, that extra 10%, it's just conquering or anchoring and conquering. When I mean conquering, yes, but concreting, did I say that correctly? Like concreting?
Like
The
cementing.
fundamental. Yes, cementing. There you go. Cementing the fundamentals.
Hmm.
That's what that is.
It's the 10,000
You could
reps.
100%. You could have all of the game IQ. You can have the CrossFit Games IQ of game strategy. You can have the IQ of playing softball and knowing what to do. But if you're not hammering the basics and the fundamentals to get you to that next 1%, the next 1%, it doesn't do anything for you, right? And that's the way I look at it. It's like, cool, yeah, he's hitting the marks of the foundations and the basics, right? We're going back to Atlas for
Mhm.
gymnastics, but is he doing it consistently?
Yeah.
Because if he's not, then I don't want him moving up to the next class. I need him to be able to just do it automatically. It's the same thing with a routine ground ball. If a
Hmm.
girl is not consistently catching a routine ground ball, do I think she's ready to go play select or go on to an all-star game?
I think the difference in what you're saying and a lot of people focus on is like that 1, 2, 3% we often think comes from like a needle in the haystack, like finding this tiny little thing that needs to be adjusted. But what you're saying is like these percentage jumps or like these improvements actually come from the base and the foundations. Like it's not rocket science. Just keep doing the foundations, the fundamentals, and it'll actually give you more output than trying to like tweak these tiny little things over and over again, master the fundamentals, and then you can try to focus on the rest of it.
Yeah, I had a I had a platoon sergeant when I was in the Marine Corps, and like I was a reconnaissance Marine, and we're assumed to be high speed and go gadgets and all that crazy stuff. But my platoon sergeant at that time period had just gotten into the teams as a recon guy, just got back from basic reconnaissance. I just graduated as a recon Marine, did
Mhm.
the thing. And he walks up to me, he's like, "Hey, Briones," I've had this happen to me multiple times when I was in the community. He goes, "What is high speed to you?" He asked me this question.
Mhm.
And I was like, just like I've gotten asked plenty of times, other questions. And of course, gun ho, Corporal Briones or Sergeant Briones. Oh, high speed gunny is to go ahead and be able to do the things at a very fast, high speed and whatever else. And he goes, "No, man, you have it all wrong." He's like, "It's to be able to do the fundamentals and the basics without even thinking."
Mhm. Well, it's part of it
And
becomes nature. Yeah.
I was like, huh. Ever since that moment, you give me a pistol and a rifle, I can go lay down rounds and pistols and all that stuff just as good as someone who's been shooting
Mhm.
still shooting to this day. You asked me to go jump up in an airplane with a skydiving chute on my back. Can I do it? Yeah, because guess what I hammered over and over and over and over again was the basics. Same thing with ultra running. I might not be trained to go run 100 miles, but I can guarantee you I can get through 30, 40, 50 miles right now. Why? Because I understand the basics of nutrition, pacing, understanding how to manage and take care of myself from a survival standpoint. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean, you say, like, let's go back to softball because you've been wanting to do that today, is especially, like, at this young age, like, they're like, "Oh, we gotta get these things for the bats and these gadgets and these gears," and I don't even know what some of these, like, new little trinkets
yeah,
are. And I'm like, What do you need this for? You can't even hit the ball yet." You know? Like,
100%.
but I think, like, we are in such a world where it's like trying to find something to get better rather than, and this goes back to all of our conversations, rather than that fundamentals and learning the system and learning the habits and like how to take care of yourself and how to get good at the basics, because if you have those building blocks, the rest will come and then you can add, whatever else. I don't even
Yeah,
know what they are. That's
100%. No,
yeah.
it's a good point. I think that's a really good highlight. And I think that that's the overall arching theme of this conversation is like the differentials isn't the macro aspect of it all. It's the micro aspect of like what makes things different and what makes it actually last longer and actually stick long term isn't this fancy external gadgets or whatever else. It's the
Yeah.
repetition of the fundamentals over
Mhm.
and over and over again and going back to it. The same thing with nutrition, hydration, sleep, mental performance type stuff, physical attributes, endurance events, you name it. It's going back to the fundamentals and hammering it and giving those fundamentals, putting them in different environments, putting them in different looks, doing different things. But at the end of the day, the fundamental is the fundamental.
Yep.
And that's what we're hammering. That's all it is, right? Like, hey, if you put me in a shoot house and you're like, hey, you're going to run around this cone, do this thing. Yeah, that's an external stimulus. But what's the fundamentals of me shooting? The fundamentals of me shooting, right? It's all the same. Same thing if I give an 8-year-old team, hey, you're going to go ahead, run around this cone, jump over this cone, then you're going to ground the ball. I don't care if you go around this cone, jump over the cones slowly. What I want to see, though, is you being able to execute the fundamentals of grounding the ball correctly after making your brain have to work. I
Yep.
don't care how fast you go through that. If you go through it fast and then your fundamentals of ground the ball is completely garbage or you miss the ball, that does nothing for me.
Yep.
Or in a game where you get a ball thrown to you and you're not able to, you stop it with your glove, you're not able to keep it in your glove. That's a fundamental issue. That's not a game IQ issue. So that
Mhm.
tells me we need to do more fundamentals of you learning how to scoop a ball up off of balance.
Right.
And that's a very simple fundamental. Hey, I'm going to bounce the ball, you catch it without the glove. Drop bounce, grab it,
I
grab it.
I always tell people about this. So when I was growing up, my dad he coached me for a long time, and even when he wasn't like my coach, we would still do backyard drills, all that. And I was so afraid of the ball for a long time that we would go outside to the backyard against the house, and he took a box or bag of tennis balls, and he was just like whip them at the ground, like throw them at me. Not dangerous, obviously they're tennis balls, but he would just do that over and over and over and over again, so that I would stop flinching and turning away because I knew that I wasn't gonna get hurt if I got hit by one of these balls. And then after that, he would start to throw regular balls in, right? And so it was just that repetition. I say over and over again, like we go out for probably an hour and just fielding, fielding, fielding. It's the same thing with anything else, right? Like it was just getting that basic down of don't turn away from the ball when it's coming at you so that you'd stay on top of it.
Yeah. No, 100%. I love it, dude. I think, again, it goes back to, you said 1,000 hour rule, 1,000 rep rule.
Yeah.
It's the fundamentals done over and over and over again. And that's it. No matter what the external stimulus is, if you can produce the fundamentals in that external stimulus, no matter if it's a low stress or high stress, that's what
Mhm.
it is.
I'm gonna
Yeah. No,
pre-apologize to Savannah when she goes outside and you're just throwing tennis balls at
I
Savella.
mean, I agree with Bill already, right? Like I do that already with her. Like even with her batting right now, like one of the key things with her batting right now is like I need to keep your eyes on the empty tee after you swing through.
Yeah.
Same thing. Keep your eyes. I mean, she had great contact on the ball yesterday. Just unfortunate that one pitcher just threw her glove
Mhm.
out, caught it. Which you got to give her the benefit of the doubt on that. Even though Bella had a hard hit, I mean, you heard it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no. So I think at the end of the day, the theme of this is the differential is going to be what it looks like from a developmental process of the micro aspect. and not the macro. And, you know,
It's
understanding
just
experiences,
boring
understanding
stuff.
what's up.
The boring stuff that works, right?
Yeah. And you know, what's funny is the boring stuff over time becomes the fun stuff because you know it makes you better if you have that perspective.
Dude, I mean, I've had the same weightlifting program for like every block. I think a few of them, they haven't been progressive, they're just maintenance, right? But they have been the same exact thing for 4 weeks in a row. And I think most people would be like, what is this? And every time I go in, I'm actually really excited because I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know exactly how this helps me and I can adjust as I need to. Like, you know, it's but it's buying into the fact and understanding that it's not laziness, right? It's not like, oh, they're just copy pasting week to week. It's what is going to make me better in the long run.
100%. I agree with you on that. Cool. Well, if you guys want to go ahead and reach out to us, any kind of topics you might have, if you are listening to the podcast, if you want to go ahead and work with us, let us know. We're currently running a 20% off for the first 3 months working with us. If you are looking for mental performance coaching or want to sit down and talk with myself or Savannah about mental performance progressions and how we can go to improve your mental game, let us know. Um, Outside of that, if you haven't joined the Omni University school platform, please do. You can access all of these calls in video. You can actually access the YouTube as well as the Spotify as well, where you can listen to this. Um, Outside of that, yeah, nothing really too crazy. We thank you for listening and appreciate it. And I look forward to our next one. Sam, you have anything?
That's it.
Cool. Have a good one, guys.